down the street from you. There's a feeling of fall in the air. The kids are back in school. High hopes with the Rams and Chargers, and some hearty fixins from Columbo's as autumn still takes center stage. Nothing like a sizzling steak, or feast your taste buds on Columbo's out-of-this-world crab cakes, or Columbo's family
this is ridiculous.
Italian
These
recipe
people don't know how to
specialties, and
even
of
connect.
course, the world's greatest meatballs. Did you hear that? That's the primal cry for some serious yum-yum.
There we go.
Of the tum-tum
All
at
right.
Columbo's, that little neighborhood place you really wish
He's in.
was down the street from you. Columbo's manja baby.
The Morning Answer with Jen and Grant.
I don't like Sylvester. It's cramped in the hallways.
See, it's funny. I didn't feel cramped because I feel like you've got that open air side. But you know what I don't like about it? It's very like cementy. Like
Cementy, yeah.
Like for a new stadium, the outside is so beautiful.
Yes.
But the inside feels like you're in an insane asylum.
It's very hard.
A little bit, okay.
It's very crowded, the hallways.
Yeah, not that loud, just very average.
Starting at 6 a.m. on AM 870, The Answer. AM 870, The Answer. Tell your friends to tune in every day to hear the truth.
This program is sponsored by Freedom Bound International.
Freedom in the hands of honest, patriotic people.
In support of the universal principles of truth, justice, and the eternal struggle for freedom for all people, this is the Global Freedom Report. You can be a part of the show by calling 866-870-5752. That's 866-870-KRLA. And now, the host of the Global Freedom Report, Brent Johnson.
They may take our lives, throw us in jail, steal our property, defame our character, but they cannot kill the truth. And for the next 2 hours, the truth is back in business. Freedom means never having to ask those people whom you have allowed to run your government for you for permission to do anything. That is the birthright of all Americans and all free people everywhere. On this show, I will help you to exercise your brain to think and come to your own conclusions rather than believe the propaganda and misinformation being disseminated by and on behalf of the United States government and the international globalists. This show is about truth, justice, and liberty. We'll also show you practical ways to live free in today's surveillance society and give you a good picture of how the globalist cancer is infecting the world and what you can do to stop it. Coming up on today's show, we are going to expose the greatest financial fraud ever perpetrated on the American people, the so-called second set of books kept by every state, county, and the federal government. Also, we will bring you another invaluable edition of Lessons in Liberty, where you learn really useful things they never taught you in public school. And we will embark on our weekly journey into the dirty world of mind control and behavioral manipulation on Propaganda 101. That's all coming up on today's edition of the Global Freedom Report. You can join us right now in our live chat room at www.globalfreedomreport.us or call us toll free from anywhere in the United States and Canada at 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752 to go on the air. This is going to be an exciting show. I want you to sit back and pay attention, because what you're going to learn here is so important and so significant. You know, every week, this show is about teaching you to open up your eyes and open up your ears and open up your mind to the truth about what's going on. That's what it's all about. We're going to be back in just a minute or two with tonight's edition of the Global Freedom Report. So stay tuned. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Global Freedom Report. We'll be right back.
What if you could live free from government regulation? What if you could learn how to lawfully opt out of taxes, eliminate personal liability, and travel in your vehicle without Big Brother watching over you? The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation, reveals the truth about the American legal system, the U.S. Constitution, and shows how to protect your God-given rights. The American Sovereign provides information critical to all people who value liberty. This 250-page full-size paperback will change the way you live and teach you how to reclaim control over your life. The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation, is available through Freedom Bound International. Call them toll-free at 888-385-3733. That's 888-385-FREE. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us. The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation is the #1 book on sovereignty in the world. Get your copy today.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. Your question for this week: if you could change just one thing in your government with a simple snap of your fingers, what would it be? If you could change just one thing in your government with a simple snap of your fingers, what would it be? By the way, we are now going to be putting on both our websites, freedomradio.us and globalfreedomreport.us, we're going to be putting our weekly question so that you can actually answer it online if you don't get a chance to answer it here on the show. If you could change just one thing in your government with a simple snap of your fingers, what would it be? A couple of announcements coming up on future shows. We have several different new segments coming up. First of them is Rants and Raves. Rants and Raves is an opportunity for you, members of our audience, to address matters they feel so strongly about that they want to rant and rave about the issue on the air. Listeners will be given the chance to call into the show and share their anger, outrage, and or frustration concerning the issue that is bothering them. Stay tuned. We'll give you more information on how to participate in Rants and Raves. Also, we are working on putting together a man or woman on the street interview segment. This is going to be an opportunity for members of our audience to become freelance reporters, traveling in public areas and asking people about current events and topical issues. The reporters conducting these interviews will need to have their own equipment for recording their interactions with people. Their interviews will then be submitted to the Global Freedom Report for editing before being aired on the show. We'll give you more info on that as time travels. Freedom Follies. Freedom Follies will be an occasional segment on the Global Freedom Report featuring live on-air interviews with performing artists and fine artists whose works are focused on freedom, self-determination, individual rights, and the principles of Americanism that are the theme of this show. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have our first Freedom Follies segment. And then we have Point Counterpoint. This is members of the Global Freedom Report audience to participate in an on-air debate on noteworthy topics. In most cases, I will take the point and the listener will take the counterpoint. I will have 2 minutes to make my point. The audience member will have 2 minutes to make his or her counterpoint. I will then have 1 minute to do a follow-up rebuttal. The audience member will then have 1 minute to do a follow-up rebuttal. And finally, each party will have 1 minute to offer a conclusion to the issue being raised. Audience members who wish to participate in Point Counterpoint will need to make their interests known to the show producer. 888-385-3733 will get you there. And then she will coach them on the process and schedule them to be on an upcoming show. Those are new segments coming up on the Global Freedom Report. The pace of rebuilding in Malibu, California is going very slowly, ridiculously slowly. The fires were 10 months ago. Is it more? Maybe 11? But in Malibu, only 2 rebuilding permits have been issued in all that time. One local official, a volunteer fire rebuild ambassador named A. Roy, resigned out of frustration. Meanwhile, California pretend Governor Gavin Newsom is wasting his time issuing insane and absurd posts trashing President Donald J. Trump, while Marxist outlaw Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass spends all her time complaining about President Trump and immigration and customs enforcement on liberal cable news networks. Is there any wonder why nothing is getting done? Malibu's volunteer fire rebuild ambassador resigned and called on Mayor Marianne Riggins to step down, citing what he described as an untenable pace of reconstruction following last January's wildfires. Abe Roy, appointed in late May as the city's fire rebuild ambassador, told the city council at a meeting recently that he was leaving the post and later urged Riggins to gracefully step down, saying the city is prioritizing politics over permits. 2 permits have been nearly 10 months, which is an abomination by any standard, said Roy. Roy's resignation caps months of mounting frustration among homeowners who lost properties in the Palisades and Franklin fires and say they are facing costly studies, duplicative reviews, and shifting standards they can rebuild. City figures cited in news reports show roughly 720 structures were destroyed. 69 projects have initial planning approval, and only 2 have received building permits allowing construction to start. In an interview with Westside Current, Roy said Malibu's process has been intentionally made difficult over decades, slow development, and approach ill-suited to disaster recovery. Malibu was also devastated by the Woolsey fire in 2018 and by the Franklin fire in December 2024, just weeks before the Palisades fire. Fewer than half of the homes destroyed in the Woolsey fire have been rebuilt. As with the Palisades fire, administrative fees and delays the process. So too are fights with insurance companies about payouts for coverage. Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, and the entire Los Angeles City Council should resign. Their responses to the fires have been an utter disgrace. Now, I would wager that at least some of you in my listening audience were either victims of these fires or know people who have been victims of these fires. I would love to hear what you think about the situation that is, or rather is not being done to rebuild the damaged housing and what should be done about it. I mean, taxpayer money is taken to pay people like Karen and Gavin Newsom. Why are you paying them? What obligation do they have? If they have a job to do, does their job not include dealing with wildfires that destroy people's homes and destroy their lives? Shouldn't that be part of their job? And if that's the case, it would seem to me like they're not doing their jobs. And if they're not doing their jobs, why do you continue to pay them? I mean, hey, it'd be great if I could have a job that I could be guaranteed I'm going to be paid whether I do my job or not. Wow. Isn't that what's going on in the Marxist Republic of California? And I make no apologies for saying that. If you'd like to debate that with me, I'd be more than happy to debate that issue. But I consider California to be a prototype for a Marxist state, for a devout communist state. Anyway, We got some heavy stuff to talk about on tonight's show, so stay tuned. We're going to be right back with our guest talking about that second set of books that every state, city, and federal government has. We'll be back after these words.
This is where the truth matters. The Global Freedom Report. Don't go away. Brent will return in a moment.
DOJA, the Department of Government Accountability. This is our citizen-led watchdog task force under American-made action. We're exposing corruption in child welfare, family courts, and unconstitutional federal programs like Title 4E. The funding that is sifted straight down through the Health and Human Services Agency into the Social Security Administration and directly out to the agencies across 50 states that are responsible for the separation of children and families. And through lawful notices, federal lawsuits, and investigative media, DOJA is holding those rogue officials accountable, demanding transparency and restoring parental rights. We're not waiting for Congress. We're the people taking lawful action now. Visit AmericanMadeAction.org. Hit the Take Action button and join the reckoning.
You say you want a revolution, well, you know, we all want to change the world. You tell me that it's evolution, well, you know, we all want to change the world.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. Walter Burien Jr. worked as a Wall Street commodity trading advisor for 15 years. According to Mr. Burien, every state, county, and major metropolitan city is keeping two sets of books. One set, the budget, is commonly available and tracks each governmental entity's costs and tax revenues. The budget is the financial record that is seen by the public and used by politicians to justify new governmental services and higher taxes. However, there is a second set of books called the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, or CAFR, which is virtually unknown to the public. It contains the real record of total governmental income. Although the budget gives an accurate account of government costs, only the CAFR gives an accurate account of government's total income. State CAFR reports show that only 1/3 of the income comes from taxes, fines, and fees. 2/3 of income comes from other sources, with no direct tie to the publicly known budget. The CAFR is absolute proof that federal, state, and local government throughout the country are perpetuating massive fraud against the American people. Walter Burien is exposing the fraud and working to correct the injustice caused by it. Walter Burien, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the Global Freedom Report. How are you, Walter?
Hello, Brent.
Walter,
Very good.
I am not hearing it. There we go. Now I hear you fine. How are you doing?
Oh, very good. I'd like to start off with giving an example of a personal level of what government's doing. Now, all of your listeners, you know, they have a house and they have a budget for operating their house. Okay? And say their budget's $80,000 a year. And, you know, they account for every nickel, dime, and penny on the expenses they make and the monies they allocate for their budget. But every listener out there, if they put together their annual, you know, their statement of net worth, okay, which would show all of the properties they own, any businesses they're operating, Any investment accounts they have, it's substantially different than your budget report for your house for 1 year. Your statement of net worth shows what's built up over your lifetime. And that's the government's comprehensive annual financial report is a statement of net worth, which is why it's never mentioned, never talked about. You have all of the players looking at it very closely to see what idle funds or monies are available for them to spend, discretionary funds, the public doesn't even know about because the public is not looking. So, without the money involved, there's a lot of games and a lot of players who won't say a word about it.
Well, okay. Yeah, your connection is going in and out a little bit. Okay, I hope it corrects itself and such. But I did hear most of what you were saying. I think the people heard it as well. You have been revealing the existence of this report for many, many years. Apparently, this report or something like it exists in every aspect of government, each county, each state, the federal government. How did you first discover the existence of this second set of books and the extent to which it has defrauded the entire country?
Well, back in New Jersey in the late 80s, early 90s, the governor got elected by the name of Jim Florio, and his platform was no new tax increases. The public voted for him, in the election for governor. And a month later, he announces a $2.8 billion tax increase. It was put together from the president and adopted. So here, the largest tax increase in state history being implemented on new taxes. Florio was an attorney. Go figure. But the DJ we were listening to on 1.5 FM, John and Ken show, and John challenged us to start an organization to repeal the tax increase. With 9 other people, we incorporated a group called Hands Across New Jersey, to look at the issue. And being a commodity trading advisor, big numbers don't bother me. $1 or 1 trillion, it's just a number. And I took over looking at the budget, revenue, and finance. Well, the budget for New Jersey at the time was about $20 billion. Well, when I got the I didn't see investment funds or operations like the Turnpike, Garden State Parkway. And I called through to the budget director and I said, what lists all the investment funds and the autonomous agency accounts? And he goes, oh, the company's annual fund report. I said, yeah, can you send it to me? I got it that Friday. Now I'm looking for the total gross receipts. To me, that's what's important, how much money is brought in. So here's a state with a service budget of $29 billion, and what they were bringing in gross receipts was about $80 billion. And I learned the definition of syndicate organized crime right there on the spot. The politicians were constantly promoting the budget report, which they found for nickel dime, but not a mention of their annual financial report or statement of net worth. So that left 2/3 of the revenue non-disclosed to the public. And with 2/3 of the revenue not disclosed, the COLA was extreme. If you look at annual financial report for your city, county, state, district. They live top salaries. For example, in Los Angeles, where your show is, look at the county attorneys. 600,000 a year, 635,000, 575,000. Yeah, those attorneys, it's like winning the lottery. And to get appointed as a county attorney, bills they cut beforehand to make sure they get the job. Who's going to what what money is going to be spent where, is probably where they're picked as the county attorney. But the publicists are being masterfully entertained, doing their own business.
I got to put a bookmark there for now. We're coming up on a break. My guest is Walter Burian. The topic, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the second set of books. We'll be back with more after these words.
From coast to coast and around the world, this is the Global Freedom Report, and we'll be back in a minute.
A common law pure trust organization is the most powerful asset protection device available. Pure trusts have been around in the USA since 1790, when Patriot Patrick Henry created the first one. Pure trusts establish ironclad protection for real property, vehicles, businesses, and just about anything else. A pure trust creates a wall of privacy over its assets, reduces personal liability, and protects property from attachment. Freedom Bound International has been creating pure trusts for over 35 years, and none of their trusts have ever been successfully attacked. Call today at 888-385-FREE. That number again is 888-385-3733. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us for information and applications for their pure trusts. Freedom Bound International, dedicated to the preservation of personal freedom, privacy rights, and the principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence.
The Answer. Breaking news.
Survivors of the Eaton fire urging state leaders to mandate a clearance before occupancy standard for all remaining homes in the fire zone. Residents claim dangerous levels of asbestos and lead still present even after cleanup efforts. A survey of 50 homes in the area found roughly 36% tested positive for asbestos. Almost all of them still had traces of lead. I'm Larry Marino on The Answer with breaking news and talk you can trust. Today is our Veterans Day Troopathon Drive.
They're out there serving and they're worried, is my family going to be taken care of? Are we going to have the money to pay our bills?
With Veterans Day almost here, we urgently need your help to send care packs to our troops overseas.
They consider it a privilege to serve and protect the United States.
But we must hear from you. $25, $50, $100, $250, $500, $5,000. Donate $250, get a $50 food certificate from either Gulliver's or Columbo's while they last. Donate $500, get a $75 gift certificate. But do it now.
Call 833-2-TROOPS. That's 833-2-TROOPS. Or give online at am870.info.
When you call in or give online, dictate a greeting, thinking of you, praying for you, remembering you. Call 833-2 and the word troops. That's 833-2 and the word troops, or give online at am870.info. Our soldiers serving overseas tear up with joy when they receive these care packs.
Our role at Troopathon is to show them that they're cared, show them that they're appreciated.
Call 833-2-TROOPS. That's 833-2-TROOPS. Or give online at am870.info.
Also, there's an uncertainty with many supporters worried about, their own businesses and being able to support. So support can be a little bit down for the holidays right now when, of course, our troops need it the most.
We are launching this drive in honor of Veterans Day.
They are a family. They are families together because they know their life depends upon their buddy's life. If you want to spend any amount of money, you will be blessed over and over and over.
Call 833-2-TROOPS. That's 833-2-TROOPS. Or give online at am870.info.
Thank you.
The Morning Answer with Jen and Grant.
He is still recovering, but He has been doing more on camera. If you check out PragerU and Dennis's Instagram and social media, he's been doing a little bit more. He's been speaking more. He's been doing more. So, you know, these kinds of recoveries are slow, but Dennis is so strong and he's got so much in his head. I've heard he's even been doing a lot of writing. So he's still hanging in there.
The Morning Answer with Jen and Grant. Weekday mornings starting at 6 a.m. on AM 870, The Answer. Read the latest headlines on our website, am870theanswer.com.
This is Peter Tangen from the Real Life Superhero Project, reminding you that one person can make a difference. You're listening to the Global Freedom Report.
The time bomb is ticking, that every second the disaster is coming closer and closer. This is the last country of freedom and possibility. If people will fail to grasp the impending danger, nothing ever can help United States. You may kiss goodbye to your freedom. All this freedom will vanish, evaporate in 5 seconds, including your precious lives. The moment at least part of the United States population is convinced that the danger is real, they have to force their government. And I'm not talking about sending letters, signing petitions, and all this beautiful, noble activity. I'm talking about forcing United States government to stop aiding communism.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. We are speaking about the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, which is the second set of books that shows the actual income in every state, county, and the government, and that you are not supposed to know anything about. My guest is Walter Burian, who has spent many, many years exposing this as best he can to the American people. Walter, welcome back. Who controls these reports? Who actually controls it? And how does the existence of these reports affect the lives of ordinary people?
Stand of the report came together basically around 43, 44, just after the Second World War. And there were two associations to help promote it. GFOA, Financial Officers Association, and FASB, Federal Accounting Standards Board. And they wanted to put everybody on the local governments on the same standard, for most of everybody was on it, every city, county, state, school district. And with the money that could be viewed in the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the inside players, it was mum's the word, and not a mention of a word of it to the public. Keep it as an internal document to themselves due to the money involved. And, back in about 2010, a couple of local governments, being greedy, they always promoted the budget report. So if you pulled money from the budget report, just like if you had $1,000 budget for your house, if you pull $10,000, only had $70,000, you're short $10,000 on your budget report. Even if your net worth was another document. So local governments were playing that game of stripping down their budget. Oh, we're going to have to declare bankruptcy. Oh, the sky is... I remember Orange County did that back then. And I pulled up Orange County's Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. They were sitting on investment funds of $115 billion. Okay, and I made that public at the airwaves on a couple of radio stations. All of a sudden, the bankruptcy of Orange County disappeared. No longer mentioned. And all of the other local governments who are playing the same game, the bigger local governments came down on them saying, stop it. You're bringing attention to everybody else. Drop this bankruptcy game. And all of the local governments that were claiming bankruptcy disappeared from mentioning it again. Okay? Very simple kind of money involved. They didn't want people looking, at the right report, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. But, I did a lot of radio shows. Well, here's the key point. Go on.
Well, okay. Again, I'm trying to approach. Now, I know about the CAFR because I've followed your work for many, many years. You were on my show in its original incarnation as well. Okay, but many of my audience may not be with it. So the question I ask here is, how do you know? How have you been able to determine that the CAFR, these reports contain the real record of government income? How do we know that some other so-called record is not the real record?
Well, it is the annual financial report or the statement of net worth. Now, when I started national disclosure and people started looking into it, that was for local governments, we got to change things. So, when they had a fund of $2.5 billion in the combined financial columns, they showed $2.5 billion for that fund. So they did a switch in accounting to try to draw down what they were showing. And, they always went, showed a show of gross, before I started disclosure. Then they switched to a showing of the net. So on that $2.5 billion fund balance, they would do is create a liability, something projected out 30 years, which came to close to $2.5 billion. So here we have, a $2.5 billion liability projected out 30 years, a standing fund balance of $2.5 billion. So they would say the net balance is zero. You follow? So a lot of local governments, in any way, shape, or form, they would be creating one liability after another to match it against their ending balances. So they could wipe out a showing. So the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, which, by the way, government 2 years ago changed the name. Instead of CAFR, they changed Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, ACFR. And I guess that was a little confusion tactic on their part, so people couldn't find it easily. But, the bottom line is the money involved. And that's why it was never mentioned, talked about, or discussed in public forum. If you went to a city council meeting or a county board of supervisors meeting and mentioned, I want to see your CAFR, they would sit there with the, deer in the headlights, syndrome. Even though they had signed off on the report, 2 months earlier or something, it was intentionally, subverted.
That would be something. If people went to there, it doesn't matter. You can go to the county, the state, the city, any government agency, and ask to see the CAFR and see what they say. I think that would be very interesting. Now, Walter.
Well, what I told people to do is get a copy of the report first and have it hidden on the desk or in their lap. Then bring up the CAFR when they played the dumb routine. Hold it up and say, "Oh, by the way, here's the one you signed 4 months ago." Signed up.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. I like that. Now, you said your research showed that only 1/3 of income comes from taxes, fines, and fees, and that 2/3 come from other sources. exactly what are these other sources of income, and from where do they come?
Well, as I mentioned, back in Jersey, I didn't see the from investment funds on the budget or from the enterprise agencies. New Jersey had 68 different enterprise operations, like the New Jersey Turnpike, Garden State Parkway, Port Authority in Newark, New Jersey. And then, that's how I came across the CAFR. But, the 1/3 tax and fine fee income is shown by the budget report. And it kind of looks like the budget report is operating from taxation, and they create a shortfall. People look and say, they say they're $7 million short. Accounts for equal. They're $7 million short. What are they, idiots? More than they had. No, very ruthless and greedy. We looked at their corresponding annual financial report. It showed about 2/3 revenue and investment funds that was shown on the budget report. So that was why it was very important to look at it.
And these are investments that are actually paying off. In other words, they're making money on these investments, and we're not being told about it. Is that accurate?
Sure. And not $1 of that investment income is going directly back to support the budget. They keep it all separated by statute and, not inclusive with the budget report, because that's their raw cash. Go to a personal level again. If you ran a business, you ran several businesses, and the one you promoted and let everyone see, you made very little, and it was always running into, a negative balance and so forth. You promote that, and people think you're kind of broke, okay? But your other operation, which you never mentioned, made 10 times,
a lot of money.
times the amount. A couple
Making a lot of
million a
money,
year.
yeah.
You never mention that. You never mention that. So everybody thinks you're operating the losing side.
We begin to see the story here. Stay with me, Walter. We'll be back with more on the second set of books after these words.
More about freedom and your phone calls right after this.
Freedom Bound International is a common law service center specializing in asset protection. For more than 35 years, they've helped people free themselves from government control. Their common law pure trust organization successfully protects property from confiscation, claims, liens, and judgments. None of their trusts have ever been successfully attacked. The Private Interest Foundation holds assets internationally, distributes funds privately, and does so anonymously. Their stealth LLCs let you set up banking as privately as possible. They offer books, CDs, DVDs, and a variety of products and services designed to teach you how to live free from Big Brother. Call them today at 888-385-FREE. That number again is 888-385-3733. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us. Freedom Bound International, dedicated to the preservation of personal freedom, privacy rights, and the principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence.
What do you think is power? Whips, guns, money? You can't turn men into slaves unless you break their spirit, kill their capacity to think and act on their own, tie them together, teach them to conform, to unite, to agree, to obey. That makes one neck ready for one leash. Why do you suppose I denounce greatness and praised mediocrities like you? Great men can't be ruled. Why did I preach self-sacrifice? If you kill a man's sense of personal value, he'll submit.
In a Congress of politicians, the liars speak today. On a stage of reset conditions, the liars speak today.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. My guest is Walter Burian. The topic, the comprehensive annual financial reports that exist in every aspect of government, county, state, local, city, federal, all of it. Now, you have said, and frankly, I believe you, that the CAFR is absolute proof that the government, all governments throughout the United States of America, are perpetrating fraud against the American people. Fraud normally requires intent in order to establish proof of it. Is it possible that elected and appointed government officials are unaware of the significance of CAFRs? Could their participation be innocent? Walter, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
There. Yeah, now I can.
Can you
Now
hear
I
me?
can. Did you hear my
Okay.
Yes. Did you hear my
Every
question?
every congressman, yeah, I did. Every congressman, every senator is sent copies each and every year. In fact, a congressman from, say, Colorado maybe sent the annual financial report from Arizona, California, Wyoming, Texas. You know, so they don't just get one; they get a lot sent to them. You know, so they're quite aware of it. Now, whether or not they have a little bit or an iota of accounting background to understand what they're looking at, you know, there could be plausible deniability on their part. But the bottom line is, it's there. I mean, any high school student I've shown an annual financial report, they look through it, woo, 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 you know, they could catch, you know, the large balances. And one notation, as I mentioned, you know, when I started National Close Disclosure, they went from gross to net. And it's very important when you get your report to look at, they have sections. And there's one section called the notes to the financial section. Look through that, because if the city has a fund of $79 million, okay, it shows it. And if they've got liabilities of $75 million, get a net balance of $4 million, they also show that. So it's very important to look through the notes to the financial section. But yeah, we're talking collectively trillions of dollars. And there's a lot of players. It's the fundamental basic foundation of government, its operations. You know, so if you're going to be part of the game, you're included.
And this absolutely seems to go through every single facet, every aspect of government. 866-870-KRLA is the number if you'd like to know, if you have questions for my guest, if you have comments you'd like to make. 866-870-KRLA, 866-870-5752. So if we accept, Walter, that a massive fraud has been perpetrated on the American people through these reports, what is the
you massive? Oh yeah, you called a massive fraud. And keep in mind the players involved. You know, spent millions and millions of dollars on attorneys and everybody else, draft the statutes and the laws. You know, for them to do exactly what they're doing. You know, say for example, you personally decided to extort $2,000 a month from every neighbor on your. You're going to draft the law. You're going to draft statutes that require them to pay you $2,000 a month. Okay, and if they didn't, you'd have the sheriff's department come over and take their house. You know, like I said, when you have a large organization with trillions of dollars collectively involved, they create their own laws and their own statutes to allow them to do exactly what they're doing. They don't mention it. They don't talk about it. You know, mum's the word. that comes down to an aspect of disclosure. I mean, there are disclosure laws, and technically, if I went after local government, I would go after them on non-disclosure. And they would come back like, well, we publish our comprehensive annual financial report. It's all there. Yeah, do you ever mention it? Not a peep, not mention, not a word. Yeah, so
Actually,
they're kind of bind when it comes down to disclosure.
Well, I love your idea. I think it would be great if we could get the sheriffs to come and arrest all these people, come and take their homes and such. I think that there would be some kind of justice involved in that. I think it's a great idea. 866-870-KRLA if you'd like to be part of the show. Let me shift gears slightly here, because you've set something up and I'm very interested in, and I'm sure my audience will be as well. You set up something called the Tax Retirement Fund Association. That sounds like a great idea, designed to reduce or eliminate most taxes in the USA. Could you explain the principle and tell us how we can become involved in supporting your efforts to reduce or eliminate the burden of taxes in our country?
Well, when I first started this, the first aspect was national disclosure. Did about 1,000 radio programs, published articles all over the world, and reached probably 300 million people. And so the disclosure was out there. Then I went into phase 2, the remedy. I came up with the TRFA, Tax Retirement Fund Association. And what that is an organization to negotiate with local governments, cities, counties, states, school districts, to put them on the fiduciary trust management pool to meet their budgets. And what the fiduciary trust management procedure is, say like a pension fund is designed to pay salaries and benefits for employee retirement. That's a fiduciary trust. You can set up a fiduciary trust where the what's generated from it pays local government, city, county, state, school districts budget for the year. So if you're paying the budget through the fiduciary trust, there's no need for taxation. So, I broadcast that principle. A lot of local governments started fiduciary trusts to generate, $10, $15 million a year, but did it go to offset taxes? Generated more money for themselves. So, I was waiting. I'm not a big guy. I'm not a Bill Gates or a Warren Buffett. I was waiting for one of the big boys to step forward saying, okay, Walter, let's make it happen. And the looked at, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and all these guys. They made most government contracts and investments and so forth. They're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. Even though it's something good, they're not going to risk, their livelihood by getting government ticked off. So none of the big boys step forward. Contributions from the regular individuals and so forth, which, Goodyear was 5,000, but, to travel around, do seminars and everything, it was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to create the structure to end taxation. And the TRFA would do that. And I finally got, disillusioned with not being contacted by heavyweights, where I backed off. And I waited. Not one call came through from a heavyweight. Now, one guy from Texas, he was kind of a crazy guy. and got a check for about $6,000 a month from his oil income. He came forward. He said he would put up $1.3 million. But
Walter, we have
about
Walter, we have a hard break here. We have a hard
Yeah.
break here. We have to take a break. Stay tuned. Stay with me, please.
Go for it.
More about freedom and your phone calls right after this.
AM 870, The Answer. Mistrust, division. It's not what we're moving towards.
If you drive in SoCal, you've probably seen more bumpers than beaches lately. And if one of those bumpers hits you, it's time to go DK all the way. At DK Law, we don't just open a file. We take your case all the way. From your free consultation to e-signing right on your phone. We'll help with property damage, deal with the insurance noise, reduce your medical bills, and fight for the maximum compensation you deserve. It costs $0 upfront, and we only get paid if we win your case. Did you know every 4 minutes, someone new calls DK Law for help? Because here, DK all the way isn't a slogan. It's the process. Our team has recovered over $500 million for more than 15,000 clients. Founded by a U.S. Army JAG Corps veteran whose own family's accident shaped his mission. We're here for you 24/7. So after a crash, don't stop halfway. Go DK all the way. Call 800-80-DK-LAW. That's 800-80-DK-LAW. Or visit DKLaw.com. That's DKLaw.com. Car accident? Call DK Law. They will fight for you. No fee unless we win. Not legal advice. Results vary.
In the new movie Call Sign Courage, Space Force Commander Matt Lohmeyer stands up against woke Marxist ideologies threatening our military.
Inclusion and equality are what's important to us.
Share your pronouns in your email. Initiate difficult conversations about racial and gender barriers.
Lethality matters, merit-based selection and promotions matter, and your ideology doesn't matter one bit.
He told a story from inside out that nobody really had ever heard.
You strip merit out of the picture, and people don't know whether they earned the badge. Like everyone gets an award.
You know, he needs to shut up and get his pension.
Race identity politics, critical race theory, white fragility, your white guilt, your white supremacy.
But he knew that if he didn't speak up, no one else was going to speak up.
We need lethality in the military, period.
The career officers kicked him out, and then President Trump put him in charge of solving the problem.
We're not going to get better than him.
Don't miss Call Sign Courage, the Matt Lohmeyer story. Pre-order it today at callsigncourage.com. Callsigncourage.com.
AM 870, The Answer. Find us at am870theanswer.com. Download our apps, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv.
In today's fast-paced world, professionals face endless projects, deadlines, competition. To thrive, you need mental clarity, sharp focus, and reliable memory. That's why the same company that brings you Relief Factor created Think Factor. Think Factor is designed to help you think clearer and perform better daily. It's a powerful blend of nutrients that supercharges your memory and sharpens your focus. You can stay on top of your work and outshine the competition. After a couple of weeks of taking Think Factor, I noticed a dramatic difference in my clarity, my focus, even my memory. And you know what? The longer you take Think Factor, the better the results are. If you've ever felt mentally foggy or struggled to keep up with everything on your plate, well, Think Factor can help you reclaim your cognitive edge and thrive in your life. Call 800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF, or visit ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com to order Think Factor. Call 800-4RELIEF or visit ReliefFactor.com. Your first bottle, just $19.95. Think Factor. Think clearer, perform better daily.
Jennifer Horn here, and the Southern California half-price tuition program is going on right now. Enroll your child or grandchild in an outstanding private school with strong academics, extracurricular activities, and the same principles you teach at home. You pay half the regular tuition, and we pay the rest for you. It's the half-price tuition program. See the list of participating schools now. First come, first served. Go to am870.info right now. That's am870.info.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-478-6430 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-478-6430. That's 800-478-6430. What do you have to lose? Call 800-478-6430. Again, 800-478-6430.
AM 870, The Answer is everywhere. On the air in SoCal at AM 870 on your AM 870 smartphone app.
The advantage of modern technology.
And now on Amazon and Google Home speakers. Just ask for AM 870, The Answer.
Are you listening?
AM 870, The Answer. Mistrust, division. It's not what we're moving towards.
And we're back to hour 2 of the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. My guest is Walter Burien. The topic is the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, which is the second set of books showing the actual income in every state, county, city, the federal government, every aspect of government. This is the real books as to what the money that's coming in is. And it is only 1/3 of that money comes from taxes, fines, and fees. The rest comes from solid investments that you know nothing about. They're making a lot of money on these investments, and you're not getting to share in them because you are kept in the dark about it. The other thing that my guest is doing is he has been working to further the ends of something called the Tax Retirement Fund Association. Basically, if we could have access to the CAFR income, then we would have more money than we need to do the things the government's supposed to do without having to tax everybody to death in order to accomplish it. Walter, welcome back. Is what I'm saying, the way I'm saying it, is that kind of valid?
Yeah, if the people got together and passed the law in their venue requiring government to create a fiduciary trust account where the return would be your budget, thus so they could phase out taxation, it would happen. You'd have to restructure, move a few things around, and done. But, keep in mind, the silence is golden rule is so strongly enforced. Like I said, the politicians will give you the deer in the headlight look. And these guys do not play fair. I have 3 kids. I haven't seen them in 10 years. They effectively kidnapped my kids and dangled the abuse of them in front of me. My business they went to destroy. I live in the outlands of Arizona, where it's what I consider safe. And my closest neighbor is 2.5 miles away. But then 6 months ago, I almost died out here. It's just me and my faithful dog, Fearless. But I started getting tired for a couple days and, fell down a couple times. And, I just figured I was exhausted. And, my computer, 2 o'clock, and my hands couldn't even reach up the work keyboard. And I said, I'm exhausted. I want to stand up. Couldn't stand up. So I pushed my chair, flopped over. And when sunbreak came and I woke up, wanted to sit up, couldn't move. Totally paralyzed. Legs, arms, body, hands, arms, totally paralyzed. And one day goes by, 2 days goes by, 3 days goes by, and here I am just lying on the bed, could open my eyes, but totally paralyzed. And day 3.5, I told myself I got to get that window open right behind my head, get some cold air hitting me in the face to try to revive a little bit. And it took me 4 hours, but I was able to flip my hand back and hit the lever. 4 hours of the cold air, and I kept working on trying to move my hand. I was able to push myself around my jeans, get my cell phone out of my pocket, call us, and they dispatched the ambulance, which came out at midnight. I spent 3 days down in the emergency room. They thought I had a stroke, but they did a CAT scan. No sign of a stroke. And I couldn't walk or talk. After 3 days, they moved me to the recovery center across the street, where after a month, 2 weeks, I was able to stand up in little steps, and I was able to talk where somebody could understand what I was trying to say. And when I got home, no one could tell me what happened to me. Not one doctor, no one from the emergency room. When I got home, it took me 10 minutes to figure out what happened to me. I just Googled reasons for paralysis. I think it was the Mayo Clinic, and went to them. They listed 26 reasons. And the 7th or 8th down was a Dr. So-and-so syndrome, which was if you got the mouse virus, there's a whole bunch of mice out here where I am, that your immune system goes into high gear to fight it. And what happens is your immune system confuses your own nerve cells with the virus and starts killing off all of your own cells. Thus the 100% paralysis.
Oh my God.
So that was 6 months ago, and I'm still, walk with little steps, and I'm having a hard time speaking, because, my jaw muscles and lip muscles are, about 30% less than normal, But if I wasn't able to get that window, day 4, I would have died.
Wow.
And like I said, I had my kids kidnapped from me and the whole. So, the guys that are in politics, they know, not to mention, next to annual financial report, they know the certainty, of what would happen to them if they brought it forward and promoted it. The same thing in business leaders, or most of them buy from government. The government owns their corporations by investment. You think of the, about 100 and almost 200,000 governments now, cities, counties, states, school districts, enterprise operations, each with their own investments, each with their own accounts. Systematically, they bought up corporations by investment. So there's a lot in control.
Well, here's the thing. I never accept that there is nothing we can do. When we see a problem, I mean we, you, me, the audience, the American people, we can together solve the problem, whatever it is, however difficult. Now, I believe that, okay,
well, we're up to a severe problem. I mean, all of us are masterfully entertained into distraction, and even if one group became serious, managed their focus, the syndicate boys, trillions collectively behind them, are going to come in, infiltrate your group, and direct everybody to focus their attention on saving the whales,
Well, now, hang on, Walter. Okay, I'm going to make you God for a day. Okay, you are God for a day. So you can do absolutely anything. What would you like to see us do to bring about needed changes and set us on a course where we, the people, are rewarded by our efforts and government is made less intrusive to our lives? Remember, you're God. How would you do it?
Well, the key to that is people understand what they're up against. So I would magically pass on the education to the entire population of what they were actually up against. I mean, because it's so massive. You know, people don't have a clue because it's way too big for them to comprehend. And first, once that knowledge was passed on and absorbed by the population, the second thing I would say now, focus on coming together and creating the statutes and the laws to make your government operate on the fiduciary trust principle to meet their budget, where you create the fiduciary trust, you create the statutes, you create the laws, where they now build up this fund and it now meets their budget. And, you know, I've had politicians say, whoa, where would we get all this money from? And I said, you had no problem collected $40 trillion for your own pension funds that pay your exorbitant balances. Now, if you could do that, why not do something for the public and, you know, create a fiduciary fund that pays your own budgets? When I looked at local governments, you know, one thing I saw was consistent. 60% of their budget goes for paying salary and building a pension fund. 60%.
Wow.
30%, 40% everything else. You know.
Well,
the you know, so government has no problem doing it for themselves.
Yep. You know, what is the best way for people to contact you to find out more about this? Both of these things, both the CAFR, which is so critical, and you all need to
my
find
primary
out. Also,
website was
also the TRFA as well.
Well, my primary web's CAFR1.com, CAFR, the number 1.com. Now, the tax retirement fund, I put together a little website called TRFA.us.
Okay,
so on the TRFA, TRFA.us.
So, okay, let me just say that again for everybody. CAFR, the number 1.com. That's on the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. TRFA.us. That's the Tax Retirement, Fund Association.
Fund
Association. Yeah. So those are the ways to get in touch. CAFR1.com, TFRA.us. This is such a big topic. I sincerely hope that we've reached some people who are going to start planting more seeds from which we can grow a solution to this problem. I bless you, my friend, for doing this, because without what you're doing, I wouldn't know about it. They wouldn't know about it. So,
well, just keep in mind, mum is the word government. So you get that deer in the headlight. Talk to them about it. That's intent on their.
Yep, they want to keep it quiet. If they want to keep it quiet, we want to make it not quiet. We want to make some noise about it. Walter, thank you. It has been such a pleasure spending time with you. Bless you on your efforts and everything, and on your recovery as well. I'm so glad that you recovered from what happened 6 months ago and that you continue to recover. God bless you, my friend. Thank you so much. Walter Burian has been my guest. We'll be back with your calls and more after. Stay tuned.
We're going to go through the second hour.
Don't go away. There's a lot more of the Global Freedom Report when we come back.
Are you ready to awaken to the truth? Birthright, Born Free, Live Free is the award-winning documentary shaking audiences across America. This powerful film uncovers how government overreach and the erosion of personal freedoms are threatening our God-given rights. Join us for upcoming screenings taking place around the nation. For locations and showtimes, visit birthrightthemovie.com. Don't miss this opportunity because freedom isn't free and silence is surrender.
This is Lord Christopher Monckton, working to bring you the truth about climate change. And this is the Global Freedom Report.
Every day there's more people stepping forward, want to be a part of Castle's world, throwing away everything it means to be human.
Right now it's the desperate ones, convicts, addicts, the sick, the poor, the ones that fell through the cracks.
The federal prison system is growing out of control, set to bankrupt the whole damn USA. Then Castle rides in on a white horse, says he has a plan to bail us all out and we just fall in
The
line.
healthcare system is collapsing.
And this time he's pushing for total control over genetic disease. Birth defects no longer an issue. All we got to do is exchange our cells for the ones he wants to give
Promise
us.
of a longer life and a fatter wallet.
The next thing you know, we're all slaves.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. Brent Johnson, your host. 866-870-KRLA is the toll-free number if you'd like to be part of the show. 866-870-KRLA or 5752. Our question for the show: if you could change just one thing in your government with a simple snap of your fingers, what would it be? If you could change one thing in your government with a simple snap of your fingers, what would it be? Now, in case you missed the announcement earlier in the show, okay, we have several new segments that we're working on for the show that are going to involve you, every one of you. The first of these is called Rants and Raves. And this is an opportunity for you, members of our audience, to actually address matters that you feel so strongly about that you want to rant and rave about it. So listeners will be given the chance to call into the show and share their anger, outrage, and or frustration concerning whatever the issue is that is bothering you. Okay, now I want you to write it down because this is the number to reach my producer and let her know that you've got a rant and rave. I've got something I want to rant and rave about. And then we will schedule that on the show. And you will have an audience to hear your rant and rave. Now, we ask everybody to be respectful and appropriate, okay, when you go on the air to talk about things. Don't use bad words and things like that. You know George Carlin's unacceptable words for broadcasting. Okay, check that out. Okay, and you'll know what not to say. But if you do have something you want to rant and rave about, this is going to be your chance to be heard. We also are inviting those of you who would like to become freelance reporters. Freelance reporters, meaning that you'll take some kind of equipment that records people and you'll travel into public areas and ask people about current events and topical issues. Okay? Now, you have to have some kind of equipment to do it, but that's easy in today's digital world. You can get something real simple, real inexpensive, and you will become a reporter, and we will put your interviews with people on the air. Okay, so again, if you want to become involved in either of those, all you have to do is call 888-385-3733, 888-385-FREE, and say, I want to do man on the street or woman on the street interviews, or I have something I want to rant and rave about, and we'll set you up and get you on the air. We're also introducing a new occasional segment on the show called Freedom Follies. And this will be a segment where we will feature live on-air interviews with artists, both performing artists and fine artists. Artists whose works are focused on freedom, self-determination, individual rights, and the principles of Americanism that are the theme of this show. If you're an artist and you're doing that kind of stuff, tell us about it. We'll bring you on the show. If you know people who are doing that, tell us about that. We'll look at bringing them on the show as well. And then finally, we will have a segment. This takes a little bit more work, so it takes a little bit more time to put together, but it starts with you. The segment is called Point Counterpoint. Okay. I will, once I have come up with particular topics for the segment, I'll let you know about it. Okay. I'll take the point, whatever the topic is. You'll take the counterpoint. So I'm looking for somebody who will actually have a different perspective. For example, I might say, okay, how about socialism? Okay. I would take a point against socialism. I have reasons why I think socialism, communism, Marxism is not a good idea. But there are some of you out there who think it is a good idea. So I'll take the point, 2 minutes on the point. You'll take the counterpoint, 2 minutes on the counterpoint. I'll take a minute of rebuttal. You'll take a minute of rebuttal. I'll take a minute of a summary, a conclusion, and you'll take a minute of conclusion. And when we do that, the listeners will get a chance to evaluate our various perspectives. It's called Point Counterpoint. They used to do this on CBS News. That's where I believe it originated many, many, many years ago. But I did this on an earlier incarnation of the Global Freedom Report, and it went over very, very well. So if you would like to participate in Point Counterpoint, when the time comes, I'll announce, here's a topic we're going to, I've got to devise some topics. Here's a topic we're going to do Point Counterpoint. And then you call in to the 888 number, 888-385-3733, and say, I want to give a counterpoint on whatever the particular topic is. So please stay in touch with my producer on all of these things. Rants and raves, man or woman on the street interviews, and Point Counterpoint. 888-385-3733. That's the toll-free number, 888-385-3733. Let us go to Eric from Los Angeles. Eric, you have an answer to my question. My question, for those who didn't hear it, if you could change just one thing in your government with a simple snap of your fingers, what would it be? Eric, welcome to the show.
Yes, hello there.
Hi there.
Well, when you first announced the question at the beginning of the show, I thought that since you're focusing on this program today about things that the government isn't doing that they should be doing, I thought I would answer that way, and a thing or two that they should be doing that they're not, rather than something that they're doing that they should stop doing. But when you asked the question again just a few minutes ago, something kicked in my head and said, you know what? I'll mention those things afterward if Brent wants me to, but I'm going to throw in something first, and that's this: we need to do away with the first thing that they started about a century ago, which got us on the road to being converted from a constitutional republic to an egalitarian democracy. And that was the direct election of U.S. senators. That, if we could change that, and get U.S. senators elected electorally the same way that we elect a president, that would be a major beginning. And to go along with that, you know, in the beginning, voting was restricted. Voting was restricted for responsible people, people who owned property, people who had a vested interest in the country, that a stake in it, you know. This one man, one vote stuff is really, really bad news. That has to go. So that would be my immediate answer.
Excellent. Eric, thank you. We're just about out of time. We have a hard break coming up. Okay, but thank you so much. I really appreciate the answer very much. Thanks a lot, Eric. We'll be back with Lessons in Liberty coming up after these words.
We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to the Global Freedom Report.
A common law pure trust organization is the most powerful asset protection device available. Pure trusts have been around in the USA since 1790, when Patriot Patrick Henry created the first one. Pure trusts establish ironclad protection for real property, vehicles, businesses, and just about anything else. A pure trust creates a wall of privacy over its assets, reduces personal liability, and protects property from attachment. Freedom Bound International has been creating pure trusts for over 35 years, and none of their trusts have ever been successfully attacked. Call today at 888-385-FREE. That number again is 888-385-3733. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us for information and applications for their pure trusts. Freedom Bound International, dedicated to the preservation of personal freedom, privacy rights, and the principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence.
The Answer. Breaking news.
Survivors of the Palisades and Eden fires are urging California's Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara to resign. The wildfire survivors united this week, calling on Governor Newsom to get involved. They say if Lara doesn't step down, they want the state legislature to start proceedings to impeach him. It comes after a report found an agreement between the insurance commissioner and insurance companies led to more policyholders being dropped before the January wildfires. Larry Marino in the Answer Newsroom.
Hey, it's Jeff,
Jimmy,
and Mark from the Gunslinger Show radio program.
Tune into the Gunslinger Show Sundays from 7 to 9 p.m. on AM 870 to learn everything you need to know about firearms.
We'll talk about guns and ammo and our huge auction December 13th for super deals on pistols and rifles. How you can sell us your gun collections for a great profit in our stores in Azusa and the City of Orange, and much, much more.
If you're buying pistols and rifles, selling gun collections, or you've simply got questions about firearms, listen to the Gunslinger Show live Sundays at 7 to 9 p.m. right here on AM 870.
The Answer.
Join attorney and radio host Andrew Kim Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Andrew will share his insight into the current political, social, and cultural trends in America. And if you or a loved one is in need of legal counsel, Andrew Kim and Associates can assist. Call him at 213-703-9192. 213-703-9192. And be sure to tune in to The Andrew Kim Show every Sunday evening at 9 p.m. right here on AM 870, The Answer.
All student loans are not created equal. A standard student loan comes with high interest rates and extra fees that can take years to repay. But the Jewish Free Loan Association makes an education accessible to everyone, offering student loans with zero interest and zero fees to students of all faiths and backgrounds, pursuing degrees in a wide range of technical or vocational schools, community college, undergraduate or graduate programs in LA, Ventura, or Santa Barbara counties. JFLA is not a bank. As a nonprofit, their loan process is simple. You only pay back the same amount that you borrow. Whether you're starting your educational journey, building new skills, or training for a career, JFLA loans are designed to support your success without the financial burden of high interest rates or fees. An interest-free, fee-free loan is the next best thing to a grant or scholarship. If you're looking for a student loan, you owe it to your future self. To learn about the Jewish Free Loan Association, visit jfla.org to learn more. jfla.org.
The Morning Answer with Jen and Grant.
I don't like SoFi Stadium. It's cramped in the hallways.
See, it's funny. I didn't feel cramped because I feel like you've got that open air side. But you know what I don't like about it? It's very like cementy. Like
cementy, yeah.
Like for a new stadium, the outside is so beautiful.
Yes.
But the inside feels like you're in an insane asylum.
Very hard to navigate. It's very crowded, the hallways.
The Morning Answer with Jen and Grant. Weekday mornings starting at 6 a.m. on AM 870, The Answer. AM 870, The Answer. Southern California's only local news and talk station you can trust. Read the latest headlines on our website, am870theanswer.com.
Hi, this is Peacemaker Aldo, working to restore the people's grand jury, and you're listening to the Global Freedom Report with Brent Johnson.
Welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. If you'd like to be part of the show, 866-870-RLA, 866-870-5752. Now, it is time for this week's edition of Lessons in Liberty. You may have heard the term allodial title. Allodial title means supreme ownership of property, specifically real property. If you have property with allodial title, that property is held in what is called allodium. And property held in allodium is immune from zoning regulations, property taxes, and the like. Now, all land in the United States of America is allodial in nature. You have to remember where we come from. We come from the British two-class system where there were nobles and there were commoners. And when our Declaration of Independence says all men are created equal, that's what it meant. It meant there are no more two-class distinctions. There is no more nobility and commoners. In Old England, if you were a member of the nobility, you participated in owning property, making the law. But if you were a commoner, you couldn't own property. You couldn't make the law. You couldn't participate in electing people. You were a commoner. Well, all land in America is allodial in nature, meaning it is subject to being absolutely supremely owned by individuals, ordinary, everyday individuals. No special need for them to be nobles. Now, in order to obtain a allodial title, there are several things that you have to do. The first thing you have to do, and again, this is on real property. Real property is land and structures on land only. So you have to do a title search dating back to the original land grants of that property to ensure that there are no clouds that exist to that title. Now, this is a relatively easy thing to do, and you can accomplish it. Once you've done that, you would then obtain a land patent. Now, if the land in question is located in one of the states that was not an original colony, then you would get a federal land patent. If the land in question is located in one of the original 13 colonies, you would get the land patent through the state. But this is also a relatively easy thing to do. Once you know that no clouds exist on the title, you can indeed get a land patent, either federal or a state land patent, and accomplish that. So now you have accomplished two of the significant things that you need to do to acquire a allodial title. The third thing is almost impossible to accomplish, but it is necessary. I tell you this because I want you to understand there are people out there who will sell you some program to get you a allodial title. and they don't actually get it. They take your money and they give you nothing. Okay, there are service out there. But this is the third element. You have to pay off the public debt on the land. Now, understand, all land that has ever been recorded with the county recorder is the agent for the state. All land that has ever been recorded has been collateralized in exchange for acquiring government loans. So what happens is the recorder will apply for and obtain government loans and will secure all of the recorded property in order to obtain those loans. That means that every piece of property that has ever been recorded has public debt on it. The difficult thing is finding out who holds the debt. We have actually tried at both ends of the research candle. On one hand, the county recorder, on the other hand, the Department of the Interior. And we have never been able to accomplish this. Nobody either can or will identify the holder of the public debt. And until you know the holder of the public debt, it is not possible to pay off the debt. Estimates are that the debt on each piece of land is probably the equivalent of about 7 times the annual property tax. But we have no way of knowing that because we've never been able to actually find out the holder and amount of the debt. Any land ever recorded has been collateralized, and therefore all land has public debt on it. In order to obtain a allodial title to land and real property, you must find out who the holder of that debt is and then pay off the debt. Now, understand that there are those out there, a lot of the commercial law remedy people, who will say that all you have to do is file a public notice that says that anyone who holds debt on this land has to come forward within 30 days or you vacate your claim. And it's a process called quiet title, where essentially you're claiming absolute title, and if somebody doesn't come forward, by their silence, they've consented that they have no claim. That is what commercial law remedy people will say is how you go about getting a allodial title, but it won't stand. It won't be effective. You may claim it, but it won't really be true. The reason being that you have to pay off that debt. If you take a look at the Federal Reserve Act, which under the Department of Agriculture, believe it or not, that's where it is, and it says in plain language, all debts must be paid in gold. You can't pay debts with a debt note, and you can't pay debts with a quiet title declaration. And since you don't know who holds the title, who holds the debt, you cannot actually pay the debt. And since you cannot pay the debt, you cannot obtain a allodial title. If you were able to identify the holder of the debt on your land and then paid it, then you would actually have that debt discharged. Okay. And you could indeed then claim allodium. And there would be no zoning regulations, no taxes, nothing at all, because that land would be yours supremely. But this is why it's practically impossible to get a allodial title in modern America. If you can't determine the holder of the debt, you can't pay off the debt. If you can't pay off the debt, you can't obtain a allodial title to the land. If we should restore constitutional rule of law and eliminate the administrative state, there is a chance that we could indeed acquire a allodial title to our land. But for now, I'm sad to say it is a pointless exercise. If you want to know more about allodial title, you can go to my website at freedomradio.us and look into the various things we have. Get my book, The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation. But I'm telling you, today it is next to impossible to get allodial title. But it's not something you should abandon. There is reason to believe that the actual republic will be restored in the near future, that there will be a restoration of the republic, a return to constitutional rule of law, and God willing, a dissolving of the administrative state. Pray to God that it happens, because your freedom and mine are what's at stake. And that is today's edition of Lessons in Liberty. If you could change just one thing in your government with a simple snap of your fingers, what would it be? 866-870-KRLA. 866-870-5752. That's the toll-free number if you'd like to answer the question, if you have any other comments or questions you'd like to share, or if you'd like to ask anything at all of us. You know, this is all about freedom, self-determination. What are your thoughts on it? 866-870-KRLA is the toll-free number, 866-870-5752. Coming up on the Global Freedom Report, we still have an edition of Propaganda 101. You know, propaganda is what I call the Joseph Goebbels school of propaganda. It's tell people what you want them to believe, tell them long enough and they'll believe it. Propaganda is misinformation with intent. And that's coming up on the Global Freedom Report. Again, 866-870-KRLA. If you'd like to be part of the show, there's still time, 866-870-5752. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Propaganda 101.
Stay with us. More truth and freedom right around the corner.
What if you could live free from government regulation? What if you could learn how to lawfully opt out of taxes, eliminate personal liability, and travel in your vehicle without Big Brother watching over you? The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation reveals the truth about the American legal system, the U.S. Constitution, and shows how to protect your God-given rights. The American Sovereign provides information critical to all people who value liberty. This 250-page full-size paperback will change the way you live and teach you how to reclaim control over your life. The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation is available through Freedom Bound International. Call them toll-free at 888-385-3733. That's 888-385-FREE. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us. The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation is the #1 book on sovereignty in the world. Get your copy today.
This is Tom DeWeese of the American Policy Center, fighting to protect your property and your personal privacy. And you're listening to the Global Freedom Report.
You're the ones who taught me that you can make your own destiny. You don't have to be ruled by fate. You can choose freedom. And I still believe that that's something worth fighting for. And I just wanted you to understand that.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom report. If you could change just one thing in your government with a simple snap of your fingers, what would it be? We have Inga from Burbank calling in. What would you do, Inga?
Oh, no, it's Linda.
Okay. I'm sorry. My apologies. My screener wrote down Inga. I apologize. Linda, hi. Let's try that again. What would you do?
What I would like to do is to have the California State Assembly and the California State Senate to have more Republicans.
Well, if you could snap your fingers and make it happen, more power to you. I think that would be tremendous. I think that would be excellent. Yeah, I believe that one of my previous guests actually was involved in that. There is a legal action against Gavin Newsom's effort to do redistricting based on Prop 50. Okay. And apparently there's already a legal challenge going on to that. And hopefully at the other end of that challenge, we might actually start to see some of what you're describing.
I hope for that.
Otherwise,
too.
California, otherwise I have to say California may well be politically a lost cause if that does not happen. And I hate saying that because California is such a beautiful state. The only problem with it is the government.
It is.
Anything else, Linda?
No, that's it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate the call. 866-870-KRLA, 866-870-5752. Now, it's time for Propaganda 101. Propaganda is the manipulation of the truth to serve a pre-established political or economic agenda. Thomas Paine wrote that government is a necessary evil. Most people read that as meaning government is necessary. I read that as meaning government is fundamentally evil. Do you remember when media started calling people who came to the USA illegal immigrants? Do you remember that? It's a long time ago. When you say they are illegal immigrants, you make what they are doing okay. After all, they are only immigrants. The truth is that if they have come here illegally, they are illegal invaders. They have come into this country without going through the proper legal channels that are prescribed for people wishing to emigrate to this country. So they have not emigrated to this country. They're not immigrants. They have invaded this country illegally. Now, I know many of you will say, well, but they're not doing anything wrong. They're not hurt. They're not violent. Okay. They're not raping girls. They're not doing anything wrong. You missed the point. If you go anywhere else in the world and you do not enter a country according to the rules, the legal rules of entering that country, then you are considered illegal and you are removed from that country. You may not have done anything particularly wrong except for the fact that you illegally entered the country. So if somebody illegally enters the United States of America, they are breaking the law. That person is breaking the law. That person is a criminal simply for being in the country. That person may not have done anything else against the law. But that person is illegally here. And if that person is now taking benefits that the taxpayers in this country are paying, then that person is fraudulently taking those benefits. And that adds to the criminality of what that person is doing. Now, borders should be open. Anyone should be able to go anywhere at all. And there should be no restrictions on that. Well, fine. Okay, if that's the case, then how about taking away all benefits? You don't get to come to this country and take benefits from the taxpayers. Okay? Oh, no, then I don't want to come. Oh, so the reason you're coming is so that you can get something that other people pay for that you don't have to pay for. And that's supposed to be okay. See, that's the truth that Marxist apologists would have you believe. They've done nothing wrong. Okay, so why should you deport them? The truth is they have done something wrong, and they have compounded the wrong by taking money they're not entitled to from people they do not know, people who actually may be worse off than they are. In other words, they are stealing from the American people. Now, perhaps they're using some of what they take in benefits for their children. That does not make what they have done right or lawful. They are still committing crimes by being here illegally and taking our money for benefits to which they are not entitled. The first step toward correcting any problem is to recognize that the problem exists. This problem that exists in the USA is that there are millions of illegal invaders in this country, and we need to remove them immediately. Accepting that as fact may seem heartless to you, but it really isn't. Truth is God's word, and telling the truth cannot ever be heartless, even though it may not feel good to hear it. After all, if you think that anyone should be entitled to whatever this country has to offer people, then you are free to give everything you have, all your money, all your property, etc., to illegal invaders to help them have better lives. That is your right, and it is my right to choose not to do that. If you want to learn more about how your rights have been undermined by government propaganda, get a copy of my book, The American Sovereign: How to Live Free from Government Regulation. Check out my website at www.freedomradio.us. Everything you find there is designed to help you seek the truth rather than believe the lies that propaganda uses to influence you. And that is this week's edition of Propaganda 101. Dorothy from Alabama, I got about 30 seconds here. Go ahead. Dorothy, are you there? Okay, we lost Dorothy. Okay, I think we are basically out of time. Okay, so those who are still hanging on the line, my apologies, but we'll do our best to get to you next week. What are you willing to do to protect and preserve your liberty? And what aren't you willing to do to protect and preserve that same liberty? And at the end of the day, would you be proud to tell your friends, your family, your loved ones, your children what you did today? Did you tell the truth? Did you keep your word? Did you honor your agreements? If not, then please correct any trespass on your brother or sister and do it now. Don't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow is too late. On next week's show, the Second Amendment is the greatest protection that people have from government tyranny. We will discuss the current state of the God-given right of the people to keep and bear arms. Don't miss it. I want to remind you all to visit us at Freedom Bound International at freedomradio.us to learn practical ways to live free from government regulation, or call us at 888-385-FREE. That's 888-385-3733. We can show you how to protect your liberty, property, and privacy from government intrusion. Tune in next week for another edition of the Global Freedom Report. Oh. Well, this is Brent Johnson reminding you that freedom is your birthright. It is a gift from God. Treat it accordingly. God bless you all. Have a good week, and I'll see you next week.
Open your eyes and you will see that America is still the land of the free, land of the free, right to life and liberty. Open your eyes and you will see that America is still the land of the free, land of the free, right to life and liberty. Open your eyes and you will see that America is still the land of the free, land of the free.
This program was sponsored by Freedom Bound International.
Help send care packages to our troops serving overseas in honor of Veterans Day. Call 833-2 and the word troops, or give online at am870.info.
Moving day blues got you down? Say goodbye to stress with Presto Logistics. With our top-notch team of moving superheroes and unbeatable service, you relax while we do the heavy lifting. Hi, I'm Henry Vogel of Presto Logistics. Our experienced team handles every detail from packing to loading and unloading, across town or across the country. Here's what one of our clients recently wrote.
On moving day, the crew was so efficient. They arrived right on time and finished much quicker than we thought they would. We couldn't even believe how quick they were, and very friendly and professional as well.
Our climate-controlled warehouse keeps your belongings safe until you're ready to move. We're licensed and insured, focusing on safety, integrity, and quality service. Don't let moving stress get you down. Go to prestomoving.com or call 818-349-4000.